So I'm going to start by bringing forward or to the front the correct panel. Panel show one owner. So let's remove this caption as well. We are busy with this last menu item, show and edit an individual owner. So I need 5 components with which to display the fields, or 5 or 4 components to display the fields in the owner table. So I'm going to use, under data controls, this DB text component. So I'm going to put 4 of them on the screen because we really don't need to show the owner ID. So let's just dump 4 of them down here. So let's rename them DBT surname and then DBT, and you rename yours on your own. So I've renamed them and I want them to be spaced equally. So I'm pressing Control down and click and drag until I've selected them all. Right click on them and say position, align, and horizontally I want them to be spaced equally, and vertically I want their bottoms to be aligned so that they're at least in a straight line. And there we go. So these are the components in which the data will appear, and I'm going to add some labels to tell me which data has appeared here. So let's go to the Standard tab and add once again 4 labels, and I'm going to align them as well. Now our labels need at least new captions. So this one is surname, and that's what mine looks like after we've changed their names. So the next step for us would be to link these components to the data in our table. But if you remember correctly, our tables are empty. They exist, but they don't have any data. So here's my tables. Table owners is empty and table boats is empty as well. So now it's time for you to start with the correct table. In my case, it'll have to be table owners, and then to type in some data. I've now gone and put data in my tables, table owner first, and there's the data, and then table boats, and you can see there are some real numbers in here and some dates, etc. Let's close the database. So our next step is to link each of these components to the database. So we link these components to the data source and then to the ADO query. So we are busy with owners. So this surname component must be linked to the data source owners, and we must let it show a specific data field. So we suddenly have an error, ADO owners missing SQL property. What should happen is when I click on this drop down menu, a list of the fields of the owners table should appear, and at the moment there's nothing. And the reason for that is that in our ADO query component there is an SQL field, and we need to put an SQL command there, like select star from TBL owners. So now when we go back to this DB text component, our data source has already been selected and the data field is suddenly available. So we choose surname over there, and you do the same for all the others. Once again, the data source first, we want to work with owners, and then the data field, which is first name, and continue all the way around. Now that I've linked all these TDB text fields, let's run our program and see what happens. So run the program. Let's start by showing all owners. So these are them. Then click on show an individual owner. And we obviously haven't flipped the right panel. Let's go back and fix. So let's stop the program, go back to our menu and click on edit show individual, and and we have no code here. Now we need some code that will bring the right panel to the front and then display a single record in that panel. So here I've added the code for my program to show an individual owner, bring the right panel to the front, and my SQL query is select star from table owners, and when I execute it, it produces a list of all the owners, and that's why I can use the open command to show it. Because I'm only using one component, it will only show the details of the first record. In other words, the surname of the first record, etc. Let's run this and see. Owners, show individual owners. So This field, surname field, shows its surname, etc. Great, we can do our alignment a bit better, but that's your job. So what's next? If we look at the instructions, we see that our second screen, which is the single record that must be displayed, but there must be components to do all of this. Now in Delphi that would typically be a button. So I need how many buttons? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 buttons. I might as well place them all on the screen now, and then we write code for them one by one. So I'm going to press Shift and then the button, and you can see this little blue block forms around it. Now I'm going to put 8 buttons on the screen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And click on the arrow to unselect the button. So the instructions say my first button must be go to the first record, and the next one go to the next record. First record, next record, previous record, and last. So let's make this one first record. So let's rename my button BTN first, and I'll make the caption equal to first, and the code is very easy. In this case it's ADO owners dot first. Let's do the next one while you're watching. That button, change its name to BTN next, and the caption to next. Double click on the button and make this ADO owners dot next. In the same way you can do last and prior for the previous record. So there's my code for the first 4 buttons. Let's run the program and see what happens. Oh dear, I don't want this panel to appear first. I want panel main to always appear first. I must remember to fix that, but let's click on owners, edit, show individual one. So obviously that's the first one. If we click on first, nothing should happen. If I click on last, it shows me that one. So if I say next after last, nothing can happen, but prior moves it down to the previous button until I get back to John Black. Great, so my first 4 buttons are done. You should tidy these up. Let's go and do the last 4 buttons. So in order to make sure that panel main comes to the front when we run the program, I want to click on the form, or select the form at least over here, and for form 1 I can say on activate, and we bring panel main dot bring to front. So that should sort out the problem. I'm going to write the code for the last 4 buttons, which will be insert a record, edit a record, delete, and search, and then you can follow afterwards. So under button insert, I have the following code. I must close the ADO query. The string is my SQL command, so I'm storing this in a variable SS. Oh yes, I see I don't declare it here. Variable SS colon string. Now watch carefully. Insert into TBL owners, and then in brackets surname, first name, email, and cell. Those are the fields. And then, and I'm going to scroll to the right now, values, and open brackets and a close bracket right at the end. So you can follow my code here, the way we've created this insert statement, but I will try and explain it. So let's add a comment line here. Now we are creating an SS colon equals, and then a string starts, and the string must end somewhere, right at the end with a semicolon. So if I go down to the bottom and I move on to the right, you can see that my string ends with this single inverted comma and the semicolon. Now in between this I have the whole insert line, insert into table owners, and then the fields. I'm not going to type them now, so in there would be the 4 fields, these ones, and that's then followed by the word values and an open and closed brackets. So we can see that that closed bracket, that one over there, right at the end, is over here. That's the closed bracket followed by a single inverted comma. So that closed bracket is followed by a single inverted comma. Now the different field values between these two brackets should always be in double inverted commas. So if I make this Lamont, oh, that's not Lamont, Lamont as my first surname field value, there must be a comma, a second one called Arnold, and let's only do one more for email, lamont@ssir.co.za, and close the. So I've now, just for demonstration purposes, have 3 fields here for surname, first name, and email address. Now, I don't want to always only put this name Lamont in there. I actually want to use an input box. So I need to break my string. So I'm going to delete Lamont and terminate the string on the left hand side, that string, add a plus, and put in the contents of the input box, open brackets, and it has one of those and one of those, and then the value that we want to fill in. Close brackets. So this is now the value that replaced Lamont, and this value must be between double inverted commas, and we need to start the new string plus single inverted commas. So what will happen here is that the input box will replace the value of Lamont. In our line down below, there is an input box for first name as well. So you can see first name is replacing Arnold, and then input box for email will replace that one. But you will have the code for this example, so go through it very carefully. So once you've figured out this long insert statement, assign it to the SQL.text property, execute it, and there's nothing to show because that's an insert statement. So then I've changed the SQL.text property to select all the fields in the table owners. I can execute that and open it so that there's something to show. So let's run this program and click on the Insert Owners button in order to insert a specific surname. And let's use mine, Lamont, and cell number. And now we need to check whether it's there. So we can go next, 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 and see, hopefully we see our new value. And of course we'll see that easier by looking at all owners, and there we are at the bottom with the new value that has been inserted.